Mike, do you want to open my mic, Mike Del Tufo? This is what I'm dealing with, Matt. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that was like a false start.
No, I don't.
Is that 5 yards on?
A legal procedure, Mike. I'm sorry, Rich. Yes.
Can Matthew hear me?
Yes, Matthew can hear you again.
See, he's just calling. That was a 5-yard. What do I do, Matt? You're a leader.
What would that be?
You're a leader. What happens if somebody comes into your huddle like Mike Del Tufo, my sound guy, my excellent sound guy, normally excellent sound guy.
Thank you, Rich.
Who I depend upon. What happens if this is sort of like I'm in the trenches with him now? What do I do? You're a leader. You tell me.
Yeah. It sounds like you're throwing him under the bus right now, Rich. It sounds like you're saying, hey, the Paytons of the world and the Brady's, the Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, he's RG3 in you.
Well, unless the people around them do well.
Yes, I can't host well.
But it sounds like.
If Mike,
why don't you just worry about your job, okay? We'll get Drew or somebody else to worry about everybody else.
You know what? That's some sage advice, but I just want to point out that when Dan Patrick, when his sound guy doesn't do well, Dan doesn't do well, right? When Berman's mic doesn't work, he doesn't do well.
I have to give an Emmy back, I guess.
Some would argue.
See?
Some would argue
You have to
that
give a
his
ring.
mic doesn't work.
It is my fault. I take the blame when I mess up, but sometimes.
Hey, Hasselbeck, could you take one guess at what Mike Del Tufo's first career job was? We're going to not announce this today. It'll be later. But what would you assume his first career job was? Just by looking at him.
It wasn't selling Dell's Lemonade in Providence, Rhode Island? I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay. We'll tell you offline. It's going to be a little sketch later.
Is it really going to be?
Oh, yeah.
Are we setting stuff up for
We're
later on?
setting stuff up.
Okay. All right, Matthew. Well, Matthew Hasselbeck is on Colts Cam in his usual Tuesday spot, or semi-usual. And he is my guy. And he's going to be coming up. Yeah, right? Semi? What would we term this? Semi? 3/4 regular? Or we don't need to term it, do we?
Well, it could be regular. The time just seems to move around a little bit.
There you go. That's Matthew Hasselbeck.
You know, if I get bumped for Bob Saget.
Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show. He is a good friend of this program. Good friend overall. Joining me on Colts Cam once again here on his regular Tuesday spot here on the Rich Eisen Show, Colts quarterback Matthew Hasselbeck. How are you, Matthew?
I'm great. What's up, Rich?
I'm hanging out here with my fellas. We just had Ben Roethlisberger on the horn. We got J.J. Watt coming up. You guys just had a big game on Sunday Night Football that, unfortunately for the Colts, did not go your way. How is the team taking this loss moving forward in the 2014 campaign, Matthew?
Well, it was a learning experience for us. We had high expectations. We lost to those guys in the playoffs last year at their place. I think we were excited to get them, at our place, but they came in and it was kind of a repeat of last year's game. So, I think for us, we just lick our wounds, we move on, and we realize this is just one game in 16. And if you are going to be one of the better teams in this conference, those are the guys you got to beat. At some point, you got to figure it out. And hopefully things work out and we get another chance. But they played a great football game, and yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you there. I mean, I honestly thought you were done. I'll be very honest.
I'm glad you did.
Because you mentioned licking of the wounds, and obviously Ahmad Bradshaw, it looks like he's going to be out for quite some time. What can you tell us about some of the players that aren't at the forefront of top of mind of fans, certainly in Indianapolis and nationally, about how you're going to fill in the blanks here with Ahmad Bradshaw out?
Well, I don't know exactly, but Ahmad and Trent Richardson have been carrying the load for us this season. And in the preseason, Boom Herron was one of those guys that, I played with most of the time. And Boom's a running back out of Ohio State. He's been a tremendous special teams player for us. He's a good runner. He's a good downhill runner. He runs well in our zone schemes and our gap schemes. And he's a good, receiver out of the backfield. And, he's a big, bigger, thick, strong back, I would say. So, as players, we have confidence in him. But we know replacing a guy like Ahmad Bradshaw, it's going to take a group effort, and everyone's just going to have to raise their game just a little bit.
Matt Hasselbeck joining me here on Colts Cam. What did you make of the RG3 comments? You've been at podiums for years after games in which you didn't perform well, like starting quarterback in the National Football League. What did you make of RG3's comments that have been parsed quite a bit over the last couple of days?
Well, I think it's important for all players, especially quarterbacks, to realize, even though they put you up on, in front of the podium, after a game sometimes instead of doing an interview at your locker, you never are and you never will be the spokesman for the team. There might be some rare exceptions to that, maybe a Peyton Manning or a guy like that, but for the most part, the head coach speaks for the team and you speak for you. And it's a thing every head coach I've ever had has said during training camp, hey, you don't speak about injuries, you don't speak about your teammates, you speak about you. And, where it gets gray is, you do speak positively about your teammates. But as a quarterback, sometimes you get asked those big, broad questions, and you just got to be careful not to fall for the trap and answer them. You really, just remember that you're just a player. You know your role, and I'm not sure if that's what happened in that case with him there in Washington. But I know that that's something that I've always had to think about, when answering questions.
Well, I mean, he did say that, that's all the sacks that happened in the game were on him. He definitely took and shouldered responsibility. There's no doubt about it. But in all of the talk of team and responsibility taking was that one segment where he said when the best players, best quarterbacks in the game, they don't play well when their teammates don't play well. And I think that's what we're all latching onto. And certainly when everyone's looking for RG3 to say stuff like that these days, too.
Well, there's truth in what he said. It's just, I think the moral of the story for any player in any locker room, especially when things are going poorly and you're not playing the best that you've ever played and your team's not winning games, you just have to be very, very careful what you talk about, what you focus on. And I think, most head coaches, like I said, most head coaches that I've had have really hammered that home. And maybe that has not been hammered home in the past, but, it seemed to me like Coach Gruden hammered that home, and not just for his team to hear. I think, that message was sent loud and clear around, across the NFL.
And, obviously, after we have all of that, I want to ask you, you mentioned about learning experiences in the 90 seconds I have left. Andrew Luck and his maturation process, what do you think he takes out from Sunday's game, Matt?
Well, I do think that, there are a handful of teams that if you want to be the best in this conference, in the AFC, you got to figure out how to beat them. And you got to, whether it's a Baltimore or a Pittsburgh or a New England, some of those teams. And New England's one of those teams. They're not going away. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be good for a long time. They have been. And that's not going to change.
Matt, thanks for taking the time. As always, I know this was a quick visit, but I look forward to next Tuesday already.
Okay. It's always great to be with you guys.
Thank you. That's Matthew Hasselbeck joining us here on The Rich Eisen Show.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.